Alright folks, welcome to the video. Today I'm going to be looking at the world of online arbitrage and Amazon FBA private label. I'm going to be outlining a little bit about both of them, explaining how they work. I'm going to be looking at the pros and the cons of each, and then I'm going to be giving my opinion at the end of the video on which one I think is best. I'm going to try and do this as objectively as I can. If you're new to the channel, my name is Alex. I'm one half of the Honest Entrepreneurs, and the point of this channel is to give you honest insights into the world of Amazon FBA. So let's take a look at online arbitrage. So if you've never heard of this before, essentially what it is buying and reselling products online. So if you're based in the UK, you might go to a website like Currys or Argos. You might buy something like a printer for £50 and then you resell it on Amazon for $79.99. Obviously, that's an oversimplification of the process and there's a little bit more that goes into it. But essentially what you're doing is you're buying things and then you're selling them at a profit. So the key thing here is that these are not your products. You're buying products from other brands. You're just kind of buying them when they're on sale, when they're at a discount, and when you can sort of flip them and make a profit from them. So moving on now to private label. Private label, the difference is that you're actually creating your own brands, you're creating your own products, and you're selling them on whatever sales channel you choose. So the one that we sell on is obviously Amazon, but you can sell them on eBay or you can create a Shopify store. Essentially, this is creating your own products, selling them wherever you want online. Now, it's called private label because generally people go on Alibaba and they buy existing products that they can stick their own brand on, their own label, their own logo, all that sort of stuff. If you're interested in learning more about this, we've got a ton of other videos, but that's essentially how private label works. Now let's have a look at some of the pros of online arbitrage. So one of the main pros of online arbitrage is that you can start it with a super small budget. Essentially, all you need is enough money to buy that first product that you can flip for a profit, and you've made money. And then obviously in order to scale that you need more money, but the beauty of online arbitrage is that you can get started with £50 or £30. You just need enough money to buy that first product that you can make a profit from. The second pro of online arbitrage is that your money's not really tied up for as long because you're not having products manufactured, you're not ordering them in China. You don't have to wait months and months for them to be made and then shipped over. You simply just go onto a website, you click purchase, they send it to your house or they send it to a 3PL, you package it up, get it ready to send to Amazon, and then you ship it to Amazon and it could be sold the next day. So the life cycle of everything and your money is way shorter than it is in private label. The next pro is that it's much easier to get started and to learn. And I don't mean this is disrespectful to anybody that does online arbitrage, but I'm sure you will agree that overall it's much easier to start and it's much easier to learn and sort of get off the ground and get running. Lastly, I do believe that online arbitrage can be relatively passive if you scale it and you start using things like VAs and you start building systems. So I follow a lot of guys on Twitter and we speak to different people that are doing online arbitrage because we don't personally do it. But the guys that seem to be having success with it, they scale it to a point themselves and then they hire what's known as a VA or a virtual assistant. They pay them essentially to do all of the purchasing, find all the product deals for them, and basically try and eliminate themselves from the business and systemize it so that they can make it as passive as possible. Now I understand there's not really anything that's truly a passive business, and if anybody's trying to sell you that sort of dream, you should probably run the other way. But I do think that online arbitrage, and from people that I've been speaking to, you can get it to a relatively passive point where you're not actually working that much on it if you hire VAs and if you build systems to scale it. All right, so let's have a look at some of the cons of online arbitrage because of course there's no business model that's perfect. So the biggest con for me, in my opinion, is that it's very difficult to sell the business. Now, I wouldn't say it's impossible because I'm not 100% sure whether that's true. But in general, the consensus is that it's not really a business that you grow in order to go on and sell it. Now, I'll talk a little bit about how that applies to private label in a minute. But for me, this is the biggest con of online arbitrage, is that you're not really building an asset that you can later go on and sell. Now, if you disagree with that, if you know somebody that sold an online arbitrage business, let me know and I will correct myself because, as I said, I don't know if this is 100% true that you can't sell an online arbitrage business, but on the most part, from what people talk about and from when I've spoken to people that do this at scale, it's not really a business that buyers are looking to come into and purchase. The second thing is it can be seen as risky in terms of account suspension. So I'm talking about your Amazon seller account here. Even today, I was reading an article that I'll put a little link to above, and it was talking about Amazon sellers receiving an email saying that they'd broken terms and conditions of selling on Amazon and they were going to get their account suspended. Now, I believe this is a little bit of a grey area. Some people will tell you that you're not breaking terms and conditions of Amazon. Some people tell you that you will. I know people that are very successful with online arbitrage and they've never been banned, they've never had their account suspended, but I do know that you can get IP infringement and you can get reported, and there is a danger there. There's no doubt that there's a danger. If anybody that does online arbitrage wants to comment below and sort of clarify this for me, but I would say that one of the potential risks is getting your account suspended. The third one for me, and maybe this is a bit of a personal one here, is you're not really learning branding and marketing skills. I'm not saying that you're not learning any skills. You're learning super valuable skills in other ways, you know, with stock management and just generally what you're doing, buying and selling things online is a skill in itself. But I think compared to private label, you're not really learning anything about branding. You're not really creating your own brands. You're not learning marketing skills and copywriting skills. You're kind of taking something that already exists, joining it to somebody's existing listing and just selling under somebody else's brand. I think personally this is one of the downsides of online arbitrage. Again, I'm not saying that you don't learn any skills at all, but I don't think you learn branding and marketing skills, which I think are super important. The next con, I believe, is that some people get really burnt out of it and they get quite bored. Now, this is something that I've heard quite a lot. We have some mentorship students that have transitioned over from online arbitrage into private label, and all of them tell us that at some point they get a bit bored because the actual process becomes quite repetitive. Obviously making money is always fun and exciting, but at some point I think some people, they want a bit more of a challenge, and I think OA kind of, you get to a point and that challenge becomes smaller and smaller and it becomes a bit robotic and you're doing the same thing all the time. The last con for me for online arbitrage is that you often have to physically store the products and pack them and put labels on them and all that stuff at your house. Now, this might not be a con for absolutely everybody, but for me personally, it's not something that I would want to be doing. I don't really want any products sent to my house. I don't want to have to store things in my spare room, mainly because I don't have one because I'm always traveling. I'm in Buenos Aires at the moment. This literally wouldn't be possible for me right now. But for me, it's a pretty big con. I wouldn't want boxes stacked up in my garage. I don't want to be touching the things. I don't want to be taking them to the post office or calling UPS. I just don't want to do any of that stuff. So for me, that's one of the cons of online arbitrage. All right, so let's move on to private label and let's have a look at some of the pros of private label. So the first one is that you're building an asset that you can sell. So for me, this is the biggest pro about private label, and specifically private label related to Amazon, because obviously you can do private label in theory on Shopify or WooCommerce, whatever it is. But with Amazon private label, the biggest benefit is that right now you can sell your business for really, really strong multiples. So if you check out one of my other videos where I talk about Amazon aggregators, now these are big companies that are coming into the space to buy Amazon brands. Now, in the past couple of years, there's been billions of dollars invested in the space, and these companies are looking to buy successful Amazon brands. So if you're building an Amazon private label brand, you're not only earning money whilst you grow it, but you can also get it to a point. You can meet with one of these aggregators, they can make you an offer based on your annual profit, and you can walk away with a big sum. Now, for Tom and I personally, this is our goal. In the next couple of years, we want to grow our business to 7 figures, and then we want to sell it and both walk away with a few $1 million each. I know that sounds a little bit crazy, but we've met people over the past couple of years that have been there and done it, and it's something that's very possible if you put the time and the effort into growing a private label brand. So the second pro of private label is that you're learning super valuable marketing, branding, sourcing, PPC, management skills. Again, to go back to online arbitrage, I'm not saying you're not learning any skills, but I think the skills that you learn through doing private label are super, super valuable. If you do get into private label and it doesn't work out, it's never ever going to be a waste of time, because you learn so many individual skills about online sales and marketing, copywriting, writing, all this amazing stuff you have to learn and get really good at if you want to grow a private label brand and make it successful. So I think that's one of the main benefits of private label, is you're learning invaluable skills. So the final pro is that I think it has a much higher potential for scale. I'm not saying that online arbitrage, you cannot scale it, but essentially with private label, the sky is the absolute limit. You don't even have to limit yourself to selling on Amazon. If you create a successful Amazon brand, you can then take that brand, you can build a Shopify site, you can build your own brand, and truly the sky is the limit. Now, recently I did a video on a company called Zesty Paws, and they went on to sell for over $640 million. Now, this was an Amazon private label brand. They grew it, they scaled it, and they sold it for nearly $1 billion, which is just pretty crazy when you think about it. So for me, this is one of the main benefits of private label, is that it has a higher potential for scale, and you can go on to sell the business, which is amazing. So it's not all sunshine and roses for private label. Let's take a look at some of the cons. So the first one is that you need a way bigger budget than you need for online arbitrage. As I said, online arbitrage, the amazing thing is you can get started with 50 quid. You genuinely could get started with 50 quid and slowly grow that into, a business that potentially you could quit your job with. Now, private label, it is literally impossible to start with that amount of money. There's just no way that you could do it. I do have a video that I will link to above that goes into exactly how much I think you need to start private label. I don't want to get into the exact numbers here, but essentially you need a pretty big budget, otherwise you're not really going to have much success. The second con of private label is that it takes much longer to get started. Now, if you're in a hurry to make money, if you just want to turn around some cash and flip some stuff and make some money, online arbitrage might be better for you, because private label is essentially a much longer term thing. It takes time to do product research, it takes time to order your product and have it arrive from China or wherever you source it from. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's something that's a long-term business that you can then build and go on and sell, which obviously has its own benefits, but you should be aware at the time it takes to get started with private label. And yeah, I do think that is one of the downsides of this business model. So the last downside is that your money is tied up for longer. So the money that you invest, because generally what people do is you place an order with a supplier in China. It will usually take about a month to be made, and then it will take maybe 6 to 8 weeks to ship from China via sea all the way to the States or all the way to the UK, wherever you're selling. But that money at that time is tied up, and then you've got to sell through that stock, wait for the money to come back from Amazon. So again, this is not a business where you're seeing a very fast return on your cash. You do see a much quicker return in online arbitrage. So this is just something that you need to be aware of if you're getting into private label, and make sure you understand how this works. So what's my opinion? I mean, if you've seen my other videos, you probably know what my opinion is. It's pretty obvious that I'm probably quite biased towards private label, because that's what Tom and I do. I do think out of the two options, if you have the budget, you should go with private label. Now, the reason that I think this is mainly because of the opportunity to go on and sell the business. For us, we're super excited that we're making money every single month. We put that money back into the business, and realistically, in the next 2 to 3 years, we strongly believe that we're going to become millionaires through the brands that we're building. Now, I know that sounds a little bit stupid, but there's people on YouTube that do that. If you check out Adam Heist, or you check out Miles, also known as the Nomad Millionaire, both of these guys grew their business, they sold it for 7 figures, and now they're just living the high life. Like, Adam still has an Amazon brand, but I think Miles completely got out of the Amazon game. He lives in South America somewhere in a penthouse suite. I think he sold his business for high 7 figures, so $7 to $8 million, which is just pretty crazy really when you think about it. He started it, I think, 4 years ago, and in that time he scaled it. And if you go over and watch his channel, he'll explain that he scaled it without really working on the business. He hired somebody else to do it for him, and then he had this huge payday at the end of it, and now he's pretty much set for life. He does whatever he wants, whenever he wants. He's got enough money to invest in other businesses. He's got enough money to live an amazing lifestyle. And I think if he'd have started online arbitrage, for example, I don't think he would have ever got to that same point. He wouldn't have been able to sell the business. And that's why, in my opinion, private label is just the better of the two options. But I also think online arbitrage is an amazing opportunity. On Twitter, we're very active, and we talk and we network with a lot of online arbitrage guys. And I have so much respect for what they're doing. You know, they're really hustling, they're building businesses, and they're scaling it efficiently with systems. They're hiring VAs, and it's really great to see. And I love the fact that you can get young people that perhaps don't have the money to start private label, and they can get into selling on Amazon and then eventually transition into doing private label. You might not want to do that. You might want to stick with online arbitrage forever. But I think getting into online arbitrage is an incredible way to get into the world of selling things online. And if you're younger or if you just don't have the budget to start something like private label, it's a great option for you. If you are interested in getting into online arbitrage, you can check the link in the description. We can put you in touch with some guys that are absolute experts in this field, and they will take care of you and they can teach you how to do all of that stuff. And you can quickly get up and running with making some money and making a real business online through Amazon. If you're interested in FBA private label, Tom and I have a mentorship program, a zero to brand program where over 3 months we take you from knowing nothing about FBA to launching your first product. And we also have a super in-depth Amazon FBA product research course. It's over 8 hours of content, all dedicated to doing product research. So you can see all of that stuff in the description. Let me know what you think below. What do you think? Do you think online arbitrage is better? Do you think private label is better? Do you think what I've said in here for the pros and cons, do they make sense? Am I just being biased towards private label? I tried to be as objective as I could, but you can let me know in the comments whether you agree. I'm gonna put a link here to our January results, so check out that video so you can see some results from a real Amazon FBA private label business. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.